everyone. It is 12 p.m. here in the East Coast and 1 a.m. in Korea. And we're live again with the weekly chart results of actually first week of April. Already time flies and it is really spring. There are a lot of flower blooms out there. And actually got to drive around a little since we can't actually walk around. But got to see a lot of flowers. It was really pretty, so it does really feel like spring. And we're back again with the weekly chart results, which we're going to talk about in a second when we see a few people coming in. Give it a few seconds. Okay, so I suppose we'll get started since it's been about a couple minutes. And hopefully we'll see more people flocking in later on. Okay, so we'll get started. Hello everyone, we will announce the world's one and only real-time chart, HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart starting now. This is your host Joe, and if you're curious about K-pop album sales, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. And yeah, let's get started and take a look at the weekly album chart result of the first week of April. As usual, starting with the 10th place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of first week of April was taken by 17. 17's All album, which is I believe the fourth mini album, was sold 1,754 copies in the last week. Yeah, so like I said, this is a fourth mini album that was released by 17. Yes, it was released, I believe, in 2017, so it was 3 years ago, but it made this week's weekly chart. And the title track of this album, you probably might know, is Don't Wanna Cry, which is, I guess, one of the more popular songs from 17. I guess if you think about 17, there are many different songs that you might come into your mind, but I would think, and I would say, a lot of the Carrots 17's fans would pick Don't Wanna Cry as one of their favorite songs. So yeah, here it is back again on the chart in the 10th place. And it is actually Mingyu's birthday. Was it today or yesterday? I guess it was yesterday in Korea. So happy birthday. And yeah, so that was 17 in 10th place. Their fourth mini album, All, was sold 1,754 copies in the last week. Moving on to the 9th place. 9th place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of first week of April was taken by ONEUS. Their album, In Its Time, was sold 1,844 copies in the last week. And since their album was released the week before, they just got their initial Chorong sales results, which is the sales amount that they recorded during the first week of the album release, and that was 28 copies. So slightly over 13,000 copies, which is an amazing record given that they are a relatively new group and it was a single. And it is definitely a growth from ONEUS's perspective, because compared to their previous album, which was a third mini album, Fly With Us, they definitely sold more albums. So that means fan base grew and more fans are supporting On Us and liking their album and the songs. So that's great. And they still made the weekly physical album chart result this week as well. Continue from the last week, which was the week of the release. So congratulations on an amazing work there. So that was in the 9th place, One Us in Its Time album that was sold 1,844 copies in the last week. This weekly physical chart result is presented by HANTEO Chart, and if you're interested in learning about the weekly physical album chart result or just K-pop things in general, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. Moving on to the 8th place. 8th place was taken by IZ*ONE. IZ*ONE's actually the first album, Color Eyes, was sold 2,358 copies in the last week. So yet again, it's another sort of an older album that made back on the weekly album chart. As you know, IZ*ONE is actively, or I guess at least have been actively promoting on music shows and with their new title track Fiesta, with new album Bloom Eyes, and they just wrapped up their promotion. But as you can see, WhosFans are supporting IZ*ONE very hardly, fervently, and their previous album actually made this week's weekly chart album result as well. So amazing, and that was 8th place. IZ*ONE, Color Eyes, the first mini album that was sold 2,358 copies in the last week. And the reason why I mentioned the last album just now is because Bloom Eyes is actually ranked on 7th place this week. And that was actually sold 2,563 copies and placed 7th in HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of first week of April. So yeah, so it's sort of back to back. You can see, the fans are like continuously loving the album and IZ*ONE as well. So I don't know. I have a feeling that we might still see Bloom Eyes in next week, even though they wrapped up their promotion. So we'll see. Yeah, 2 albums on the chart back to back, which is amazing too. So yeah. 7th and 8th place. Yeah, 7th and 8th place are both taken by IZ*ONE. And like I said, 7th place was Bloom Eyes, and the 8th place was Color Eyes. So yeah, moving on to the 6th place. 6th place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of first week of April was taken by BTS. BTS's Map of the Soul 7 album was sold 2,939 copies in the last week. So obviously we've been announcing BTS pretty much every week since its release, but this week it made the 6th place, and recently, I think it was only yesterday, was it, that one of the members, V, Taehyung, uploaded this video on Twitter, captioned basically, stay at home challenge, and he said like, try talking to the TV, and it was like a minute or so video of him dancing in front of the TV, or singing and dancing in front of the TV, along with the song and the stage on TV. And a lot of the fans, armies, also follow suit, basically, and talk to their TV, sing and dance towards the TV. So I think it was, very a nice gesture on his side, basically, to, letting people know to stay home, to stay safe, but in a fun way. And so it's really like Taehyung, I think. So that was really cute, and also very nice of him to start this challenge, more or less. And it was also fun to watch a lot of different videos that ARMY's uploaded on Twitter, and I'm sure Instagram and other social media channels too. So that was really fun and cute. And that was BTS. In 6th place, their album, Map of the Soul 7, was sold 2,939 copies in the last week. So yeah, we're up to half The Point, and this weekly physical album chart is presented by HANTEO Chart, the world's one and only real-time chart. So if you have purchased an album last week, wherever you are, to support your artist, that counted towards this week's results and supported your artists. So thank you, everyone. And if you are enjoying this video, please subscribe to the channel and like this video as well. Moving on to the fifth place. Fifth place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of first week of April was taken by TOO. Their new album, Reason for Being, Benevolence, was sold 4,307 copies in the last week. So they are, I'm sure many of the people who are watching this live broadcast have watched or heard about World Class, which is one of the Mnet survival shows that aired, I believe, last year. And the group that came out of that survival show is TOO. And they just made their debut on a special online live, I guess, showcase. And they did showcase their title track, Magnolia, during that showcase, and also obviously released the album, which is Reason for Being, Benevolence. Like I said, the title track is called Magnolia, the flower, as you all know, and you might see a lot of them if you go outside. And if you watch the music video, you can totally tell how it is sort of like Eastern influence, I suppose. Like the group is sort of, going towards that as well. Like the name itself means that the 10 members are I guess responsible sort of each of the 10 values of sort of Eastern ideas, influenced values. And the first of that is benevolence, and hence the title of the album. So obviously the Magnolia, the flower, is in the music video, and also I would say the music itself is sort of, I guess, slightly Eastern influenced. So yeah, so we're, I guess, looking forward to already next album. He's really curious how, I guess, first of all, which value they're going to take and how their concept's going to change from their current title track. And also, if you're a crazy survival person like I am, you might already know that TOO is going to be appearing on another survival show, sort of. It's called Road to Kingdom on Mnet. The first episode is going to air on April 30th, end of this month. And their performance teaser video was just released. So if you haven't seen it, just watch it. It's really short, probably like less than a minute. I think TOO particularly had like a sort of like a more of a brighter concept compared to other groups. So if you're into those kind of things, definitely check it out. And that was TOO in the fifth place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart. First week of April, Reason for Being, Benevolence album was sold 4,307 copies in the last week. Wow, I talked a lot about TOO, didn't I? I got to do some research actually, and there's an article on HANTEO News actually on TOO, so check it out. Yeah, and continuing on to the fourth place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of first week of April was taken by Ong Song-woo. His album, first mini album, Layers, was sold 6,659 copies in the last week. And we did talk a lot about Layers and the title track Gravity last week. And he actually wrapped up the music promotion, I guess, last week. So we won't get to see his stage on music shows, but you can still support him by streaming the music video, which is beautiful, like I said. And the songs, and I think all of the songs were basically, worked by Ong Song-woo himself. So if you are a fan who support him, definitely give the album a listen too. And I don't know, like hopefully we can see him acting again too. I'm just reading the comments. Yeah, I guess I missed that comment on the Road to Kingdom. I think there are 6 boy groups that are gonna appear on the show, and they're basically all the groups that you probably have heard already, but you might have secretly felt that they were underrated. So definitely watch it. I think I'm wondering if there's a way for international fans to vote too, but there's that voting portion of it too. So if you have a group that you support on the show, definitely check it out on the 30th on April. So yeah, yes, sidetracked. 4th place was taken by Ong Sung-woo. His first mini album, Layers, was sold 6,659 copies in the last week. Let's see. Moving on to the 3rd place. 3rd place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of first week of April was taken by NCT 127. Their album, NCT 127, Neozone, was sold 25,109 copies in the last week. Guess they obviously wrapped up their, I think, promotions the week before last week, and I guess after the promotion it gets pretty quiet, but 2 of the members, Chunla and Jisung, did those famous challenge that basically every Koreans are doing these days. You do the you just whip the coffee like a lot of times, and it's basically with sugar, and that basically foams up. So they actually did that challenge. It's called dalgona coffee because you basically put a lot of sugar and coffee in it and just shake it multiple times. Somebody saying they're addicted to Kick It. Yes, the title track, as everyone knows, everybody should have already listened it by now. It's very addictive, and the album's been doing very well on different charts, like including the international global ones. Like, I believe the album was ranked on Billboard 200 for like 3 weeks in a row. Now, obviously ranked high up in like online streaming services like Spotify or iTunes. And also made 3rd place still in HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart as well. So doing very well. Global and citizens are supporting NCT 127 very well. So that's amazing. ATEEZ is someone covered it. Yeah, I think a lot of the artists are basically covering. I think the choreography is very powerful. So, and the song's addictive. So it's good to see that a lot of artists are appreciating and covering the song as well. So yeah, that was in 3rd place. NCT 127. NCT 127 Neozone album was sold 25,109 copies in the last week. Yeah, so this weekly physical album chart result is presented by HANTEO Chart, the world's one and only real-time chart. And if you are a fan who purchased an album last week, that has counted towards this week's results. And if you are enjoying watching this video, just want to learn about the weekly physical album results, or just, dial in and listen to what's happening in the K-pop world, please subscribe and like this video. And we're only left with 2 more, I guess, not groups, individuals this time on this week's physical album chart results. Like I said, they're both solo artist albums, and the 2nd place was taken by Kang Daniel. His mini album, Cyan, was sold 25,354 copies in the last week. And as you know, the album was released the week before and placed first last week, so we got to talk a lot about the album last week. And because it was released last week, the initial Chodong period, which is the first week of release period, was over, and we got the results of how many copies the album was sold in the first week, and that was amazingly more than 260,000 copies. To be more exact, 261,459 copies in the last week. It's an amazing record for a solo artist. There was an article on HANTEO News on how this is basically the most sold album in 2020 that was released from a male solo artist, basically. So it you can truly see how well supported he is and how successful basically he is as a solo artist as well. So yeah, congratulations, doing very well still. And he also won a lot of the music shows like The Show, Music Core, Music Bank. So yeah, like as you probably all know, winning a music show is not only just album sales, but also digital streaming and voting from the fans and other supports from the fans and also the public. So it's amazing. Congratulations! It's really good to see like solo artists doing well on charts and music shows. So yeah, so that was in second place. Kang Daniel's mini album Cyan was sold 25,354 copies in the last week. And lastly, in the first place, like I said, it's another solo album that was released this week, actually. So yeah, so the first place of HANTEO charts, weekly physical album chart, first week of April was taken by Suho of EXO. His first mini album, Self Portrait, was sold 212,101 copies in the last week. Very mouthful number again. Yeah, so I think it's been a while since we had anything released from EXO, but here is Suho to rescue EXO-Ls. The title track is called Let's Love. And it's a very soft, I would say, love ballad. And if you check out the music video, you can see Suho in this super dandy suit singing this love song to you. And like someone saying that they love SM's vocals. I think, yeah, it's a very strong suit of his also. And yeah, it's a very soft song that goes well with this spring weather. So definitely check it out. And he also, because the album was just released, he also did a fan signing event, but obviously you can't meet anyone in person these days. So he did a virtual fan signing. So he basically called you on video and talked to each fan for about 2 minutes. So I heard, and he held that twice. So we got to meet a lot of fans online. And I think apparently the reaction was pretty positive. Like a lot of the artists are doing that these days, like online virtual fan meetings. I think we talked about how MCND did it a couple of weeks back. I think Sejong of Gugudan also did it. So maybe it's a new thing. Somebody's saying it's a really good idea. I think the positive side of thing is that compared to the fan signing event, where you can't record the conversation or the session, you can technically record if it's happening online. So I want to FaceTime with Astro. Somebody's Aroha here. Yeah, I think it's a fun, and I think also if you are sort of an introvert like me, you probably would find it easier to talk to your favorite artist if it's not like in real person. So yeah, I think it's actually a good idea for in some cases and many cases actually, especially the time that we're living in, and technology is here, so why not. Going back to Suho, so because his album was released earlier, super early this week's sales of this album is also the initial Chodong, the first week of release sales. So on the 3rd, which is a few days back, he surpassed the 200,000 copies mark, and his final result is what we just announced, which is 212,101 copies. So did very well as a solo artist for the first week sales and placed first in this week's weekly chart. So congratulations. So that was, in the first place, Suho of EXO Self Portrait album, which is the first mini album that was sold 212,101 copies in the last week. That was everyone on the chart. Congratulations, everyone. We saw a couple of older albums on the chart, which is amazing too, and saw a lot of artists who ranked last week and this week as well, and new albums. So yeah, we'll go on go on and announce everybody again from top to bottom. In first place of HANTEO charts, weekly physical album chart of first week of April was taken by Suho of EXO. His first mini album, Self Portrait, was sold 212,101 copies. In second place, Kang Daniels, his mini album Cyan was sold 25,354 copies. And in third place was NCT 127. Their album NCT 127 Neo was sold 25,109 copies. And in fourth place, Ong Seong-woo, his first mini album Layers was sold 6,659 copies. And in fifth place, new album from TOO, Reason for Being Benevolence was sold 4,307 copies. And in sixth place, BTS, Map of the Soul 7, that was sold 2,939 copies. And seventh place, IZ*ONE, Bloom Eyes, was sold 2,563 copies. And in eighth place, also from IZ*ONE, Color Eyes, the first mini album, was sold 2,358 copies. And in ninth place, One Us, in its Time album, was sold 1,844 copies. And lastly, on top 10, 10th place, 17's All, the fourth mini album, was sold 1,754 copies in the first week of April. So that was everyone, and everybody, they're taking care of each other. Don't forget social distancing, which is very important. 6 feet, remember? And yeah, I think this is nice. We're talking virtually online, not actually meeting everyone in person, learning about, talking about K-pop and their favorite groups. Yeah, so if you're curious about how many albums will be released next week and be ranked in the next week's album chart, weekly album chart, definitely check out WhosFan app. And you can check, obviously, like we said, weekly physical album results, daily and real time as well, and other data on if you have a favorite artist, follow them, and you can get news and latest articles on your favorite artists, and especially if they're coming back, you can check how well the album is doing globally as well on the app. So definitely check it out. And like we were saying multiple times, please subscribe to WhosfanTV, this channel, and also like this video, and we'll continue to report on the weekly chart results and other ongoings and happenings in the K-pop world, especially around the artists who did rank top 10 in the weekly physical album chart. So like everyone's saying in the chat, please stay safe, stay inside, do the stay-at-home challenge like Taeyong did, and we'll see you next week again, this time with the second week of April chart results. Thank you for watching and have a great week. This was your host, Jo, and see you next week. Bye, everyone.